After talking a lot about Marvel and DC comics, I think that we should take a step down and just talk about a familiar movie for many of you, Click. Adam Sandler is the main role in this movie, and in this movie, it follows Adam Sandler's character going through life, and he's like in a middle age crisis where he's working too much, not spending enough time with his kids, and just trying to provide a better life for them. And this movie has 20 billion amazing messages, and I really recommend you all watch this movie. So, in this movie, our protagonist, he goes into a middle life crisis. He's working too hard, and his family is like not appreciating all the work that he's putting in, because the only reason why he's working is to provide for his family. He's trying to be the man of the house and trying to provide a stable income and trying to get his big architectural break. And so one day he goes to a bed and body works, I think, or Bed Bath and Beyond. And so he goes there and he sees a magical room that says Beyond. And so he goes and then he finds this guy named Mort, and he gets given this remote, a remote. And at first he starts playing with the remote. He's like, "What? Like, this isn't a TV remote. This doesn't even like work on the TV." Just to find out that it controls life. So if you press his pause, we all just like pause. All of life pauses in front of him. If you press fast forward, everything fast forwards. If he presses go back, he goes back. There's a menu setting where he can like click like important parts of his life. But that's the thing. He can only go in the boundaries of his life. So only being able to go in the boundaries of his life, he can go from the very beginning to when he was a child or when he was a newborn baby, or even a bit before that, but that's a bit too explicit for my content. And then like to the point where he dies, or like what is explored in the end. So in the movie, he explores what it's like to just care about his work and like neglect his family, that his family ends up divorcing him, leaving him. They all just end up hating him, but he's still their dad. So like his son works with him, and he just becomes a very bad person. He doesn't care enough about his family. Yes, he's like trying to provide for them, but to a certain extent you can provide and also be there. He promised to finish the tree house. He doesn't finish the tree house. He promised that he was gonna take his son to swimming lessons, but he can't take his son to swimming lessons. A lot happens in the movie that makes him realize what he's done wrong, and the remote starts to go out of control and just starts to go forward in time, forward in time, forward in time, to a point where he's just alone, and he's got like nothing left anymore. And it's a harsh realization, because he still cares about his job. Even though he has nothing, he cares about his job because he knows that that is like the only thing that's going to transpire. And then all of a sudden he realizes that his dad died. Like he skipped the whole part of life where he doesn't have his dad anymore, the person that was there from the beginning. He goes back to the last time that he saw his dad, and he sees that that whenever he doesn't press, like whenever he just like presses the go forward button, his body is on like autopilot. So he doesn't have any facial expressions. He just goes and does work and just does whatever he's supposed to do, gets up and then just walks, maybe like does a quirky little laugh, talks a bit, but he doesn't have that emotional value that makes him the person that he is supposed to be and the son that he was supposed to be. And so he goes back and sees his dad just leave, and that is the last time that he sees him. And it's a very emotional scene, because he realizes that it's his dad, and it's the last time that he sees his dad, and he just doesn't care. He just like looks at him and he just doesn't care. And so it starts giving him like this reality check, and he like starts to realize, and all of a sudden he wakes up. He's at his daughter's wedding. No, at his son's wedding. Sorry, he's at his son's wedding, and he hears his daughter call his her stepdad dad, and it just puts everything into perspective for him, and he realizes where he didn't give enough attention to his family, and he should have been there. He should have been the parent that they wanted, because yes, you can work the hours that you work, but you don't have to do extra. And he realizes that you don't have to do that much more to have a happy and stable family. If you do want to work a lot, then I think that the movie was trying to say that if you want to work a lot, just make sure that, like, you know that you're there for the moments that matter. And in the end, he, like, when he hears his daughter call her stepdad dad, it puts everything in perspective to him, and he starts to get a heart attack. He gets a heart attack, ends up in the hospital, and like he's gonna survive. They just need to like hook him up to all these things, and so his son comes up and says that they have canceled the honeymoon because obviously they weren't gonna go, because like his dad was in the hospital. He needs to like work and just all those things. And in the end, in one of the most emotional scenes for me, I don't cry in movies, and I personally never cried in this part, but it does, like, it is a tearjerker, where you see Adam Sandler running out of the hospital just screaming for his kid. He's screaming out Ben, 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 like, and he doesn't see him until like he like falls to the ground and then just starts screaming for his son to like come and like to go on his honeymoon. Like, I'm getting like kind of emotional just thinking about it. He gets down and he just collapses. His son comes in and he's like, dad, like, I don't know. And like the rest of his family was also at the hospital, and they all surround him, and like his last words are family comes first, and go on the hunt. Like, basically he's telling his son, go on the honeymoon. Don't worry about the job. Don't, like, go with your family. Go live these experiences that you should be living. Like, he's young. He should be doing those things. And so in a very emotional scene, it always ends with a joke. And so he goes and wakes up because he went to Bed Bath and Beyond, and he was just asleep in one of the mattresses, and it was all a dream. But then that changed his mentality. That changed the way that he thought about the world. And yes, it's a dream movie, but here, like, just wait. I'm not explaining this whole movie for no reason. Um, he goes back, meets his family, and just says like, "Thank you, like, let's work on this treehouse. Let's go to the swimming lessons. Let's do all this." And then he starts to become a better dad and starts to manage more of his time to be with his family, which is just an amazing thing to see in the end. But the problem with the time travel, which to me is, it's the director giving us a slap in the face, because you wouldn't really think about it until the director did this. So in the movie, uh, so he's with his family. He goes into the kitchen, and then he sees the remote there, the same remote that made him time travel and stuff like that. And he realizes that he doesn't need it. He doesn't want to advance forward in life to a point where he already can spend as much time with his family, but he wants to take his time. But that's what bothers me. The fact that the remote is there. Like, the idea behind he did time travel is there. And maybe it was just life trying to teach him a lesson. But the fact that the remote was there just makes me think, well, hold on, is this actually a time travel movie, or is it just a movie trying to like go on the subject of time travel just to be a comedy, which is a very funny movie. I really enjoy it, but it does beg that question for me. And another question that it begs is, if he time traveled and he went into the future and saw something, then wouldn't that, like, it's obviously going to change the timeline, but wouldn't that affect more than just, oh yeah, now I'm happy with my family? It would probably affect a lot of things. Like, he's an architect. It might change the way that the buildings are laid out in a city, and the way that Like he might not make the same projects that he's supposed to make and that he was supposed to become in the future. Maybe all that just doesn't happen, which I think it's fine by him. He at least gets to have a family and be happy. But it does beg that question that did he change the timeline because he decided to be more of a family man in the end? And I think it's yes. And in the end, like you can think about it like, oh, it was a dream that changed his life for the better. And yes, it did change his life for the better, but maybe it wasn't a dream. And maybe that's what the movie was trying to explain. I don't really know, but it is a very interesting theory to think about. Most of these movies are just comedy and entertainment and just trying to get a story across. So it doesn't lean too much into the time travel variables that I am personally thinking about and that I'm overthinking about and not being able to understand. It is very hard for me to understand, and it is probably very hard for you guys to understand too. But if you guys have any theories about anything that I talked about, you guys are more than welcome to leave them down in the comment section below. I will try to respond to as many of you guys as possible, and I will be just on top of that the whole time. If you have enjoyed me complaining about time travel, then you should definitely subscribe, follow, write down a little comment, or hit the bell. Do whatever you need to do to show me some love. And I will be here next Sunday with a new episode. You can find me anywhere on social media at Merlowski. It's probably still not a very popular hashtag or anything like that, but just try to find it and you'll find it. Thank you for watching this episode of Beyond Action. I'll see you next time. Stay safe.